Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're looking at how to improve English speaking skills. And to help us with this, we have an expert with over 30 years of experience teaching English as a second language.
Hi, everyone.
I have to say, before we even get started, one of the tips that stood out to me most from something you did before the show was teach what you learn, which sounds kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah,
but we're going to get into all of that and more so, don't worry.
absolutely.
So let's start with a very basic tip that we see everywhere, which is practice speaking regularly.
Hmm.
And I have to admit, even for me, I can get stuck in the study phase and kind of avoid actually speaking. So
Right.
this is our first stop on this deep dive. For all of you out there, what is it that's keeping you from practicing English out loud? Is it fear of making mistakes? Is it just lack of opportunity?
Sure.
Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah. And speaking of opportunities, let's move on and talk about this next tip. Use English in daily tasks. This is where we get into the idea of immersion.
Yeah, and the source material that we were looking at actually had a lot of clever suggestions for how to do this. And one that stood out to me was changing your phone's language settings to English. It's such a simple little thing,
Oh, yeah.
but you're forced to engage with the language so many times a day.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just understanding the words. It's like
Yeah.
you start to internalize sentence structures and common phrases just in how things are phrased. Like instead of just seeing settings, you're going to start seeing adjust settings or general settings.
Oh, that's really fascinating.
It subtly trains your brain to think in English.
I love that. And speaking of those little aha moments, listeners,
Yeah.
this is your cue to try some shadowing. So repeat after me. Adjust settings. Again, adjust settings. Get those sounds flowing. Okay, so now this brings us to a tip that when I first saw it, I was a little skeptical of, which is mimic the way native speakers talk. And I thought, well, wouldn't that make you just sound like you're putting on an accent?
Yeah. Right. It's a common concern. And I think it's important to approach this tip with the right mindset. It's not about faking an accent or sounding exactly like someone else. It's about understanding that there are nuances of rhythm and intonation. Like, for example, the simple question, "Did you eat?" can have several different meanings depending on how you emphasize each word.
Oh, that's a good point. So pop quiz time, listeners. Imagine someone says to you, you went to the store. How would that sound if they were surprised? How would that sound if they were suspicious? Hit us with your best interpretations down in the comments.
Yeah, mastering those subtle shifts is what takes you from simply speaking English to actually communicating effectively.
Yeah.
Fa- Even with all these great tips we've talked about so far, there's one other element that's absolutely crucial for your success, and that's persistence.
Yeah, they say Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is fluency in another language.
That's right.
And to really dive deep into that idea, let's take a look at some of the vocabulary from your advice. The first word I want to look at is immerse. And, you can think of it like diving headfirst into a pool of English. That's what immersion is all about, surrounding yourself with the language through music, podcasts, movies, even changing your phone settings like we talked about earlier. The next word is engage. And it's not enough to just passively listen or read.
Right.
You have to actively participate, ask questions, use the language in real-world situations. And then finally, the word persistent, which ties back to what we were just saying. This is a marathon, not a sprint. There are going to be days when you feel discouraged, but you just have to consistently put in the effort, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Small, consistent steps lead to significant progress over time.
And with that, we want to hear from you all. What is one small step that you can take today to immerse yourself in English? Engage with the language, or just stay persistent on your language learning journey. Let us know down in the comments, and let's all inspire each other.
Remember, learning a language is a journey. There will be bumps along the road, but embrace the process. Celebrate your victories and never lose sight of the incredible reward, the ability to connect with a whole new world of people and experiences.